met you earlier. I'm Brian.
Hey Brian, how you doing?
Good. How was it out there today?
It's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I saw so many people around your knives. I kept trying to get my son in there and be like, you gotta look at this knife. This is the knife Dad wants to buy. And every time I was like, okay, and he'd try to push his way through and there'd be like 4 more people show up. I'm like, all right, there's a reason why there's 4 or 5, 6 people constantly showing up here. Clearly you make a good product.
Are we on right now?
We're rolling. rolling from moment 1.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
Fucking A, where's the camera at?
Yours is there.
Yours is here.
Hey, what's going on? I was just getting ready to tell you some deep, dark secrets. But now that the camera's on. Yes, I am here. My name's Greg. How are you?
Perfect. Let's get really formal and polite real quick.
I'm on camera all the time, so I'm super comfy.
How did you get into the knife world?
It was 2008, and in Arizona, we have a really unregulated free commerce type of market, and because of that, we don't have a bunch of dirty communists constraining building, so we have this boom and bust kind of cycle to our economy there, because we don't have a bunch of Karens and school marms telling us you can't build stuff. And because of that, it's commerce, and you have the boom and bust. And when you have a bust, you figure out how to make money as everything settles down. And when it booms, you don't have to figure anything out. You just hustle. So it's a cool environment. And when everything crashed in 2008, the whole country got kind of slammed. Nevada, Arizona, Florida, where there's this kind of really pro-business, lots of building going on, we all got crushed. And I had one of those, this is as good as it gets moments where I said, well, I've been doing this long enough. I've been an airshow pilot. I had martial arts schools. I had done all kinds of things. And finally I was like, I need to do something that's kind of apocalypse proof. And that was really the
knives?
thing. I fell in the rabbit hole, man. I mean, I became an expert on peak oil and theories of energy depletion and like the country collapsing. I was like, really, my brain got in that space. And if you get in that rabbit hole, it can get dark.
Oh, yeah.
So I always liked technology. I've been into techie things, but everything techie, you can all you need is some whiz-bang kid to come along, make an app, and you're dead the next. You can have a $1 billion company one day and be nobody the next day.
Yeah.
Ask Facebook. Watch what happens to that. In another 5 years, we'll be like, face what?
Well, it's like MySpace and now Facebook. You got Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
John does all that, not me.
These are just scumbag marketing companies. They don't even make a valuable product. They don't make anything. All these people sitting around eating free yogurt and getting back massages, and they think it's a company. Well, out in Arizona, we're out there making stuff, and I just went the opposite end. Because I like tech. I'm into it, but I was like, I also lost my first investment portfolio in it. So I go, I'm just going to make shit because AI is going to come along, and everybody who got conned into some smarty pants degree from some shitty university in this country, they're all going to be supplanted by AI. Like if you're a doctor, you ought to be, unless you're a surgeon, you should be shitting yourself right now, because AI just passed like every exam in the United States for being a physician.
Yeah,
it just passed the bar in all 50 states. Like, I don't know about you guys, I got attorneys, half of them are ding-dongs, so if I could talk to, like, GPG chat law, and like, it gives me an answer on, like, how to, like, get out of this problem, or if I could just have a computer show up in court for me, it's gonna win. So what will not go away is knife making, tire making, building houses.
Oh, you mean like blue-collar jobs?
Hands making stuff. We're human beings meant to interact with three-dimensional space. We are not meant to look at a flat screen and be in Theoryville. It's bad for our soul.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get into that. And I was like, well, it seems reasonably stable. I think even after the apocalypse, we're going to have nuclear power. I just imagine some like Mel Gibson character and a band of lunatics driving around in like cars with welded up windows,
like Mad
running
Max.
the nuclear power plant. Yeah. They're like, we're gonna keep this going. So I just figured I was gonna have power. That was the only way I could mentally like dig out of the rabbit hole of apocalyptic America, you know. So knives. It was that's how I arrived.
That was your just thought process to be like, I'm just gonna go make knives.
Well, so it was I built a big spreadsheet because I'm a recovering data freak. I built this big spreadsheet. I rated everything 1 through 5 on whether I thought there was some intrinsic care in the marketplace if it was American made. So I just, every fucking thing you think of, can, bottle, glasses, knob, switch, button, plate, fork, spoon, knife, light bulb, I wrote down on a list, and then I rated it 1 through 5. Do I think anyone cares if it's made in the U.S.? And
Probably.
then I just stuck, since I'm not moving anywhere, I just stuck to all the ones where I thought they cared the most.
Yeah.
And then I was like, which one's the cheapest to get going? And it was like brooms, this, aircraft components. And I was like, which one's got the least amount of government? Because I fucking hate the government. And knives have like no government over them. I'm in that. All right, that's good.
It's knives.
Yeah,
we're doing it.
So I remember I drew 18 pictures of knives in one afternoon. I invited a bunch of my veteran buddies over. And I was like, hey, you guys, come over. I got a new business idea. They're like, yeah, I'm really busy. I'm like, free beer and some pizza, and we're going to play pool. And they're like, okay, I'll be there at 6. So they all showed up.
Sounds like how we get guys on our podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, free beer, man.
Wait, where's the pizza?
It's on its way?
Yes, that's kind of what happened. And then everybody, I laid all the pictures of the knives out on the pool table. I still have them sitting in my office in the desk. Every now and then, if I feel like it's one of those days where the bear got me, I'll pull the list out and I'll be like, I can't believe I started a company with these drawings, you know? It kind of gives me a chuckle. So they're sitting there, and I made those, and that's kind of what I started the company with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Rob talks like, almost like you put on your big winter garm and you just went out in the middle of nowhere and met with these people in Lake of the Ozarks and just started learning how to make knives.
It's even worse than that. So I literally, the night after that, I had my buddies over and we kind of like everyone picked different knives. I was like, oh, well, I guess I got a knack for drawing knives. I was like sharp shit. So I was like, well, I'm going to need a building. I rented a building the next day. And the way I rented the building was so funny. I go down to this guy and I give him all the credit in the world. I was like, I called him up and said, yeah, my name's Greg Medford. I'd like to rent that unit you've got down there. He said, well, first and last month's down. I said, well, no, I'll tell you what. I said, it's been empty, for some months now, but I don't have first and last month. And he said, well, I said, now listen. I said, I know you shouldn't do this, but you should, actually. I'm a good bet. I've never reneged on anything. I said, I'm the only fucking guy on my street that did give my house back to the bank. Everybody was driving fucking new cars. I was driving my old 18-year-old pickup truck with 118,000 miles. I never was late on a house payment. I never bounced a check. Everybody on my street was like, give the houses back. And they were all buying new cars. I was pissed about it.
Jeez.
I'm like, you motherfuckers, because, they were just kicking their houses back to the bank.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh. So I said, hey, I haven't missed a house payment and all of this. I said, here's what I think you should do. Just let me move in. And I said, I'll pay you before the end of the first month for the month. And by the end of the second month, I'll pay you for the last month and that month's rent. Just take a chance on me. I said, I'm making knives. I said, I'm a pilot. I said, I was a stunt pilot. I did this, and we ended up knowing some people. And he had an airplane at the airport I was, although we didn't know each other. But we knew some of the same people. And he kind of looked at me and says, oh, my wife is going to kill me. He says, all right, man. He gave me the key. So I moved into the place. I had not made a knife yet. I had not ground a knife. Nothing.
Yeah.
I went over to my hangar where I'd been building airplanes for about 10 years. And I said, well, shit, I think I can use that. And I just started picking tools out of my tools that were knife relevant. I got over there and I said, well, I need a grinder. So I got online and I bought a grinder the same day. And they said, yeah, there's this guy, Tom, you can come out and he'll show you how to grind. And I flew out to the Ozarks. I got to the airport in Springfield, Missouri. I called the guy up. Hey, Tom, it's Greg. I'm here. I said, all right, Greg, now you go out to the airport there. When you get out to the end, you'll see an old Ford sitting there, and just come on out. So I walked out, and there's an old Ford F-100 long bed sitting there. I said, okay, Tom, I'm here. He said, all right, now you go up to the truck. The key's under the mat. It was parked right in the front of the airport. He just left it there. So I hopped in the truck, and off I went. And I got to his house. He has since passed. We had a really nice friendship that started, though. It's kind of a fun story. You want to hear this?
Sure.
All right.
If you got the time.
Oh, yeah. So I come walking around the corner of this shop, and it's back in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Ozark, Missouri.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think of Missouri as a thriving metropolis, and this was the opposite of that. So I come walking around the corner, and as I go around the corner, I can hear some old boys talking. A tomahawk goes flying by. It stabs into this tree right there. And I was like, hey, Yankee coming around the corner. So I poke my head around there, and they're like, they're just a bunch of bubbas with suspenders, and they're all like, and they pray before they grind. So I like kind of didn't fit in, like a heathen monster from out west, because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they're all like, you're like, oh my God, did he just say the F word in front of Tom? So anyways, I hung out with him for 5 days at his house. He had a school there called Ozark Knife Makers. He didn't have a school going on, but he said he profited about $500 when he taught a class. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $500 just to work with me for the week. So he spent 2 hours with me on the first day. I started grinding, and Lindsay's seen it. My first knife sitting on my coffee table in my office. He said, "What?" He came up. I was grinding. He goes, "Yeah, well, you're kind of a natural knife grinder. Well, look at you. Well, hey, I got an old samurai sword with a broke off tip. You think you might be able to grind on it?" And I was like, "Okay." He said, "Hey, I really don't have much to tell you about knife grinding. You're a natural knife grinder. I've never seen anything like it." He said, "But maybe we can make some Damascus and some tomahawks if you like. There's some Boy Scouts coming over." And I said, "Okay." And
Let's do it.
That was it. Like I had like a day of instruction. We had like the all-you-can-eat China buffet. I could hear the suspenders stretching out while we were there too. The guys were serious about it. It was fantastic. Tom was just a gentleman, and his brother was there, and they had a couple other guys that usually in the class. But I was only doing the class. So I had like 3 or 4 instructors and me. And they said, "Well, what do you?" And then I was wrapping paracord around the handle, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like, what?" They're all making these shiny buoys with bone handle and all this stuff. I said, "Well, I'm gonna make the biggest knife company in America, so I'm, appreciate you guys showing me how to grind." And they were all like, So then about a year, he calls me up. He says, "Well, Greg, I'm hearing your name all over the place. Well, it's pretty amazing. Would you mind coming out to class?" So I went out there and taught a class with him. And then it was really sweet. I had sent him a catalog, and they turned it into a poster and put it up on the wall. I was like, local boy made good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we just became friends, and then I started teaching some design theory classes around the country, and he kind of always organized it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really nice.
That's really cool.
I would always say, "Yeah, well, Tom showed me how." They said, Tom would be like, "I didn't show Greg much. We showed him how to grind a knife and make a tomahawk." Next thing you know, he had a company. But they were a really nice bunch of good old boys. And that's where I learned to grind. And then I came back to my shop and started just drawing pictures, and I couldn't turn my brain off. I mean, I couldn't even sleep.
Are any of your best-selling knives from those pictures you drew?
None of those original knives are being made except for the TFF1. I still make one of the original knives.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm getting ready to do a reboot. So the first 4 knives I did, so you start out in fixed blade knives because it's less complicated.
Yeah.
And then you graduate to folders. And then I didn't know it, but I was turning into a folder company from day one. When I got bit by the folder bug, that was it. I was toast. And I was so mad at everybody questioning the price that I sat down one day and I drew this knife in about 60 seconds, and it was supposed to be called "Fuck You, It's Too Much." That was the name of the knife.
Yeah.
And it was the Praetorian. I drew the Praetorian in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And so I have the original picture because it's like a $20 million picture.
That's
awesome. I looked down at it and I was like, and it was just like, quit asking me why it's so much.
Yeah.
But I hadn't connected all the dots yet. So once I started showing people the process, and then the factory took off like crazy. I mean, I just thought I was getting these. I've spoke like this since I was 10 years old. So, I've never really fit in anywhere except the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps was never upset with my swearing.
Maybe just in boot camp when you couldn't stop talking?
No, yeah, I didn't talk much at boot camp. Did you go to boot camp?
No, I went to basic. I was kind of in the military. I was in the Air Force.
Okay, stop talking.
It was the only branch of service. My wife's company is the only branch of service she would let me join.
That's hilarious. So, I was in the Marine Corps and I was in the infantry, and it was really funny. I kind of kept my nose down through boot camp, and I remember the last part of boot camp when I went through years ago. In the very last week, they had the basic warrior training, so you go out for 10 days to the field, and second to the last day, pugil sticks. You know what those are?
No, we made cupcakes and stuff.
Yeah, they look like it, but everybody else will know. It's they look like big Q-tips that you beat the shit out of each other, right? So it was really funny, and the way it used to go in the Marine Corps is you would have if you won all these competitions amongst the platoons, your senior drill instructor would get a bronze boot. And my drill instructor was like kind of a notorious guy in the Marine Corps. He was a famous dude. He'd got in a fight with some sumo wrestlers, had the tops of his ears cut off in the front of his nose. And so he had a flat top, and he wore his campaign garrison cover the same as his flat ears. I mean, it was fantastic. Everything dressed up and matched. You know, he's like, can't you see my cover matches my ears? He was just an awesome guy. But he had never been a super platoon before. And so we had our last thing. We had won everything, the whole of boot camp. And he practically didn't know my name because I literally kept my nose down. I was like, I don't want any attention. You know, I just blended in. On the last day, or, you know, of basic warrior training, we all get around. We do this pugial pit thing where you get to fight all the other platoons. And everybody who wins gets to fight two guys next. And just as fate would have it, I ended up going last. We were totally tied with this other platoon. It was their two guys, they were dark greens, black guys, and me. And they were fucking gigantic, and I was a pipsqueak. What I made up for in size was with anger and hostility. So
there you go.
So I went out there, boom, boom, boom. Guy hits me, knocks my helmet off. I remember my drill instructor, he comes, it's the first time he'd ever practically talked to me. He palmed with his one hand, he was a big dude, he palmed the helmet, slapped it down on the top of my head. My knees buckled, and he goes, "Where have you been this whole boot camp? You're a killer!" You know, he just screamed at me. I was like, "Oh my god! All right, I better win." So I ended up winning, and you know, like he like carried me around like I was a prize puppy for like a day. It was hilarious. So you know, I just kind of dumbed into the knife thing. I thought if you look back, it seemed like it was really logical. I didn't know the industry. I didn't collect knives. I didn't carry knives. I had 3 knives in my entire life. I had a Buck 110 backlock, you know, the one with the rosewood and the brass on the ends.
Yeah.
I had one of those. I had a K-bar, and I had a SOG. My K-bar, when I was in the Middle East, my grandfather that I was close to passed away, and they said, "Do you want to go home?" And I said, "No, I'll send my knife if you can get it to the funeral in time." My dad put it in the funeral with my grandfather, put it in the coffin with him.
It's awesome.
So I have a strong connection with K-Bar, and as being a former Marine, that as well. And then the CEO of that company and I are friends. He's actually coming out to our place next week. I had no real connection to cutlery or anything like that. I had been restoring samurai swords as a hobby because there were a lot of that World War II stuff around when I was a kid. And the knife thing just, all of a sudden, you know, I thought I was just going to be this one, like, you know, fuck you survivalist in a 1,200 square foot place. Like, how big is this unit here? Is it like 1,500 square feet, I think?
Good guess, yeah. I think it goes a little bit deeper, but...
Yeah, I think it's 1,500 square feet is what Rob said. I mean, it was 300 square feet smaller than that. And, you know, within the first year, I had got the 3 spaces next to me. I had 10 people working for me, and it just kind of exploded.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. It was just crazy. And then I was like, oh shit, I better make a plan here, or like I could get in trouble cash wise real quick. So at that point I sat down and wrote out a pretty robust business plan, and then we've kind of, like, I look at what's going on now. I look across the factory, I look at the quality of the knives coming out of the building. The knives are better than I ever made on my own. People say, oh, a hand maker, a master maker can make knives. Nope. Nobody will make knives better. I've got 4 or 5 guys who do nothing but tune knives all day. They perfectly tune them.
I've never held a knife that I've, like, dreamed about till I met Rob and came in your store. And he's like, hey, this is a Medford knife. And he put it in my hand and Justin's hands, and we're just like, okay, how do we get this for me, Justin, and John, so we each have a company knife now for our show? And he's like, we'll talk.
It's, you know, and part of it is, you know, there's a lot of luck to this, any endeavor. There's a lot of luck, right? Like, there's luck to everything. You know, if JP Morgan, if someone hadn't done the car, the oil wouldn't have been a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's all this crazy timing. Like Elon Musk, if he'd have done his cars, the Tesla, 15 years earlier, it would have fallen flat on its face because America was like, boom. But it was like this convergence of events, and it happens to land while somebody's in the crosshair of the moment, you know? And that's kind of what happened knife-wise. Nobody was doing podcasts back then. You know, I was basically every day doing a 45-minute knife talk.
That's awesome.
Which these
That's
days
so
we
cool.
call a podcast.
Yeah.
And everyone said, where'd you get all these people? I'm like, I just talked to my phone, and like all these people call me up. It's crazy. So, you know, that was back in the early days. So there's still, I don't know if there's any other like bigger companies where the head guy is doing social media all the time. I mean, I don't do anything on Instagram or Facebook or any of those places, but I'll go on. But I'm on YouTube. I put stuff out there so people like know what I'm up to all the time. I just like
awesome.
I like connecting with everybody.
Yeah, we love it.
It's kind of fun.
We're glad that you were here. We had no idea you'd be here till like last minute. Rob was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, Greg Medford's going to be here." And after he said that, Justin and I spent some time picking our jaws up, and we're like, "Seriously, the dude who makes the knives we want is going to be here? We can meet him." This is awesome. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
I got all the time in the world. What do you want to know?
Yo, I'll tell you this right now, though, Greg. I wanted one of your knives before this interview. Did I really want one after this interview?
This is not a begging session. Is this a begging session?
Dude, no.
I don't have any knives on me.
No.
Goddamn.
No, because
TSA
we're under our
took 'em
seats,
all.
right?
Everyone's just checking your
Did
back
you pull
pocket.
over on this show right now? Is there a knife under everybody's seat?
Everyone's got it's in your back pocket.
No, just
No, I snuck it in there. When next time you guys go to the bathroom.
dude, hearing you talk about your
Stainless.
passion and who you are as a person and how you brought this company to fruition to where it is today, I think it's fantastic. It's amazing.
I think what's really cool about it is it's an American story, because
It
this
is.
story has happened thousands
Agreed.
of times. And what's cool about it, I think, for young people, if you find your passion and you yield to your passion, I think this country, there's trillions of dollars just laying around, and all you have to do is commit to it. It is everywhere. I see, like, everywhere I turn, I'm like, oh my God, it's a company. Oh my God, it's a company. Or I go, oh, that's going to go out of business, and then it's gone soon. Like, once you connect the dots once or twice, you go, oh, wow. It's an amazing country. The challenging part is, you know, I was talking about the convergence of the times. If it's the right time, right place, and you're doing the thing that, you know, if you're making the wagon wheel when the car comes along, you're fucked. But if you're somebody coming up with rubber tires, like experimenting, and the car comes along, you go, oh my God, I ended up Goodyear. I have Goodrich. How did that happen? So, you know, that can also happen in reverse, in that the political correctness that is permeating our culture, it's not something that fits somebody like me. So as much as I'm outspoken, and to my own self I can be true, it bites me constantly, and everybody around me has to deal with it. I mean, it probably was part of zorching my 23-year marriage. It definitely helped me grow my company, but it may limit its size at some point. You don't hear too many CEOs walking around going, fuck that guy, and Joe Biden's a retard. You don't hear people saying that very much. Well, there's a reason, because the axe swings back and gets you. So I've had the axe swing back and get me a few times, and I just decided that I don't need every dollar. I just don't need every dollar. I only need the dollars that come my way, being me. And if I don't get all the dollars, it's okay.
Yeah.
Somebody else can get them all.
You can have my dollars.
I
definitely want that knife.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure he's getting some
I
of our
don't know if the camera picked that up, but he gave me a really sultry look right there. He looked deep into my eyes, like right to my soul.
Well, I was looking at the
You can have my dollars.
I was seeing the next knife you were gonna make.
That's fantastic. Well, do you guys have any questions for me? You know I'm a knife maker. I mean,
What knife should I buy?
Oh.
If you were to pick your knife.
All right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a little if-then, and then I'm going to go to artificial intelligence. So, because there's nothing really going on up here. So, hold on a second. He wants to know what knife to get. So, what do you want your knife for?
I want it to be able to do. So I'm on SWAT team, in
Okay.
the local sheriff's office.
Okay.
and I wanted to be able to do anything I needed to do. Like if I need to get somebody out of a car and doors are stuck or something, I need to get through glass. If I need to, cut something.
Pause. So this is the moment where Greg decides to make heavy knives good for smashing, bashing, and slicing.
That's it.
For all of you fags out there who make fun of me for making anvils, it's just horseshit. Because when I talk to guys who actually use knives, who don't have their pants rolled up and plaid socks on, with their phony work boots and they've never chopped a tree down in their whole life, when I actually talk to men who use their knives, they like to pry and twist and chop and slash and smash and break and occasionally cut some shit.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. Like,
I needed to cut a cardboard box last, and at most kill.
but if you go on Reddit, those little queer baits are up my ass about me making knives that are anchors. It's unbelievable. The guys, it's like I'm an alien,
Jeez.
So is that going to get us thrown off the internet?
Nope. That's just gonna break all the internet.
It might, but we're just gonna
Those guys and
Well, the moment you insult Reddit, everything falls apart. Our whole company's done, but it's been great.
Listen, for everybody who doesn't know, I'm reasonably willing to be gay at some point. I'm not a gay hater. I'll try it if the well dries up, okay? But so don't take it that way. But it's not about the. It's just about when I was a kid, we used to say if someone was stupid, they're being gay. Like, why is that guy being a fag? But we never knew that that was a gay thing, like homosexual. Totally unrelated.
Really unrelated.
Oh, I'm picturing is that season 1 or 2 of The Office where he's coming out and he's having this conversation with his boss.
Who's coming out?
It's when Oscar comes out. And Michael's like,
yeah,
I wasn't making fun of him. I was just because he was being gay.
Oh my God! I just got a Michael reference. That's fantastic. So, what was your question again? Oh,
what knife should I buy?
Yeah, so these guys on Reddit, they got skinny jeans on, they got plaid socks, they wear lumberjack boots, they've got amazing beards. Have you noticed?
Yeah,
just a beautiful beard.
I can't get a
really
beard like
sexy
that.
Beards, but they've never chopped down a tree. But I mean, they look like lumberjacks. It's like they got that Monty Python skit wrapped up in their head. This is what a man should look like: skinny jeans, big boots, lumberjack shirt, big beard. Anyway, okay, so and you've got big hands, and what are you, 6'1"?
Yeah, that's 6'1", 6'2".
Okay, so Praetorian's an awesome.
I think that's the one
knife.
we've been looking at, right? The Praetorian.
I'm
don't know.
not just looking at it.
People say, well, why that? Okay, well, if you're in a tactical environment, and you're going to be breaking, smashing, or prying at some point, I made the blade particularly wide so it had some good strength for sideways prying and leveraging. Now, those kids out there in Reddit land, they don't really know this, but actually men do stuff like pry open doors. I mean, I had guys pry open car trunks in Afghanistan at checkpoints and in Iraq in the green zone using our knives, and they'll send me pictures of it. I mean, you got to remember, we just got out of 20 years of two wars going on, and I had just tons of friends who were over there doing all of that, and I was making knives for them, and they just kind of it was like the old Prel commercial. They told their friends and so on and so on and so on. All of a sudden, there was a lot of knives being made. But now, if you look at our lineup, you see a lot more gentlemanly, or what we would call everyday carried pocket-friendly knives, because I'm not making for dudes with cargo pants, kicking down doors. That was who my main customer was for the first 10 years of the business. The last few years, you got the M48. If you just want a really nice, out-of-the-way, straight, no interpretation in your brain needed to get it, an M48 is a perfect knife. It's got a great tip on it, pretty straightforward blade. You could cut steaks with it. Open up a box, do, the normal kind of retail stuff. But if you're doing heavy stuff where you're ever gonna pry open a window on a car, or Jimmy open a window on the back of a truck, I'd get a Praetorian.
Sold.
Because you kind of get in with it. It's got enough blade you can pry. If you don't want to get in trouble, you could actually bitch slap somebody with the side of the blade. Whap! You just hit him with the side of the blade. That would work. Sometimes talking doesn't work, you know?
It's true. It's true. Especially right now. What's like the average cost of a knife through you?
Lindsay probably better to answer that. I don't know.
Base price of
Yeah.
a knife,
Yeah.
around $600, $700.
$600-700 for a knife?
Yeah.
Actually,
I'd say after handling them, that's easy. That seems like I was expecting more.
Let me break this down
I'd say
for
base
you.
price.
This is gonna like this.
Base
will-
price could be off just for anyone watching.
yeah.
So all of the people who are politically sensitive already are in the shower with cold water washing off their privates. So they've already left us. It's just us men left. A knife's 4 components. Okay? If you look at a blade's got somewhere between $12 and $22 worth of steel in it before it's been cut out. Cutting it out, it's got another $5 to $10. Okay? So let's just say 15 and 8. You got 23 and just cutting out the blade. You haven't ground it, heat treated it. You haven't ground it flat yet. You haven't precision ground it after heat treat, and you haven't put a finish on it yet. There's 5 more processes. If all those processes cost between $3 and $5, you can see that a blade might have a $30 to $60 cost.
Yeah.
Just a blade of any size. Each handle is about half that much. Okay?
Okay.
That's just in the material and the parts. It's not putting it together, and that's not the screws. It's not packaging. It's not sales. It's just the 3 parts. So if you get something that the material costs, let's say $95, when I see a knife sell for $250 that I know has $95 of material in it, because it's got all premium material, and they're selling it for $250, and the materials cost them $95, are they making any money?
Next to nothing.
They're making almost. But somebody will say, "Oh, well, it only costs them $95." It's $250. The largest cost component of a knife is labor.
Yeah.
Labor costs more than the material. People say, "Well, that doesn't make sense in Praetorian." Well, the Praetorian makes sense that it's more expensive. It's got twice as much material. It's not fractionally that much more expensive in material. It's labor. Really thick blades, you have to remove a lot of material. Really thick handles, you remove a lot of material. All of the making and the labor doubles. So if you got $90, let's say you've got $75 tied up in material, and labor costs more than the material, that means the cost of the knife at the very least is $150, $175. If you see it retailing for $250, somebody's not thinking like a business owner, because they're not leaving room for someone in the middle to distribute it to the world. You know, this world, it functions on, can you make it, 1, and 2, can everyone make enough money getting it to the market that you can get to the market? If you make a product too cheaply, you can't get it to the market because people go, oh, I don't want to carry this. I don't make any money carrying it. I'll tie up my money in another product where I've got a better profit margin. So you have to find like what that zone is.
Yeah.
So people, why does a knife cost $600? I'm like, well, because the material's $100 and the labor's $100, and somebody else wants to make money for their family. You know, Rob wants to make money for his family, tying up his money in my knife sitting on the counter. He's got to make a profit, or they should go put it in the stock market and get out of business, because you got to be making a return everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So if it costs me a couple $100 and he needs to make some number, and most retailers want to double their money. It's just called keystoning. It's standard retail on planet Earth. The knife business, it's way less than that. It's just a reality. People go, when I see a knife and someone says it's $250 and it's made in the United States, you know what my first answer is? Prove it. Prove it's made in the United States. Because I almost don't believe it. And then my second answer is, who the fuck is doing that? Where are you? Because I know what this shit costs. You're not getting it at half price. I get the best prices in the business. So are you planning on being in business next year? What are you thinking? Because you can't do it. It's there's stuff I see in the market. The marketplace can't be cheated. It's very honest.
And you've been in it for how many years now?
13 years. It's enough time to like connect.
More
the
than enough
dots.
time to know.
If you're not like a business person, then you don't get it.
Yeah.
When you see people say, "Well," I'll hear guys say, "Well, it only cost me $150 to make knives, so I'm going to sell it for $300." I go, "Okay, well, you double your money. Guess what? You're in the retail business. You're not in the manufacturing business. It's too hard being a manufacturer. This shit's hard. It is hard making knives."
Yeah.
people don't understand. Rob, you get it. Making knives is freaking hard, isn't it? Like, you got a lot of stuff here.
Guys can make fixed blades all day long, but folding knife, totally different animal.
You know, the whole world is made to fit, and knives are made to feel. Made to fit and made to feel are two different creatures. It's two different universes. Aerospace is made to fit. It may fit plus or minus this. It'll work as it heat cycles. Airplane won't crash. Good. There's nobody out there ever going, I don't know if I like the feel of it. Oh, this is,
Yeah.
you know, this propeller spins a little too easy. I don't know. Nobody's ever doing that. The knife world is all like, I don't know, it makes a funny noise. I don't know. It feels kind of funny. Feels.
Oh yeah, it feels the big thing. I was just in the market for buying another knife, and I told Rob I stopped the moment I met Rob. Because I went to the store, and I was like, I'm not ready to buy a knife. I was going to order it off the internet, but I stopped because like I want to put something in my hands first. So I was planning on going to like a Cabela's or something, and then
nothing wrong with that.
We run into Rob, and Rob's like, yeah, I got a whole store full of knives. So we come in here, and I was like, I'm definitely not ready because I've not felt the perfect knife yet that I'm ready to pull the trigger on.
Yeah. You know, the thing about...
Oh, this may be it? Did you just buy this today?
No, I've had that one for a couple
Oh,
months.
this is a Medford.
See, you were talking about the Praetorian. For me, when I'm doing a lot of heavy cutting, the lock bar on the Praetorian is not comfortable. The Marauders, for me, fit my hand perfectly.
I get it.
That's a nice looking knife.
Blonde brunette.
My all-time favorite is the H, but that one's my
So my question, do you rely heavily on stores like Rob's? Because I would have never heard of your knife if I didn't come into EDC to be able to actually put my hands on and touch a Medford. And even if I saw it online, I'd probably go, I probably can't buy that knife until I touch it.
We rely on stores like Rob's. It is the core of our company. I have 2 people in my company who their full-time job is to be on the phone talking to people like Rob. I care about the human connection. I care about taking care of customers. There's almost nobody on planet Earth who does customer service like we do. When you buy high-end products, you expect a certain level of service. Most folks that buy expensive knives are not rich guys. They're just guys who want a really nice tool.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to do some rich guy shit, you find out what comes along with it are great looking gals fucking rolling out the red carpet saying hello Mr. Medford and walking you into the fucking building. It's a different experience. And we want somebody like when you guys come around, Rob knows your name. He takes care of you guys. And we want other people, our dealers are like that all over the country. They see their customers come in, they know their name. We can't do this without Rob and the folks who do what he does. You can't do it. You cannot do this from your phone unless you're fucking locked up in your closet and you're on Instagram blowing this shit out doing drops of 12 custom knives. Good for you. You can't support all these people out of a place in Arizona with a lunatic running the shit. You got to have all these wonderful people along the way. Everybody's got their own sphere of influence, their lily pad, and these lily pads around the country overlap, and then you cover the country, and that's how you get your product out to the marketplace.
Makes sense to me. So your knives are pretty much everywhere then?
They're around. They're in a lot of places. I don't know. Where aren't we right now? I mean, like, in the United States, are we not any... Is there some place where we're not at?
Mexico.
New Mexico.
Well, there's really nothing out in New Mexico anyways. Albuquerque's a dump.
You know, we are at most of the fine purveyor places, and what we're working on as a company, like, we can't make enough knives. So I'm trying to evolve the company to make another order of magnitude higher number of knives, which will allow me to drop the price a little bit.
Okay.
Which will allow me to push further into the market. You know, what I'd really like is I'd like for Lindsay to be calling up high-end watch dealers and selling them a cool package of exquisite knives that should go next to their $80,000 timepieces, you know?
Yeah.
So we're working on that kind of...
We were just talking with a guy in here about, I think John asked, like, if he wears a knife to kind of go with his outfit. And he's like, yeah, sometimes when I'm getting all, like, dressed up to go out to somewhere really nice, I'll put a knife in that fits. And I was like, that sounds like a watch to me.
Yeah.
Like, when you put a nice watch on, you're probably putting on one that goes with what you're wearing.
It's very similar. It's very, very similar.
It is.
And the guys that geek out on like a titanium watch, or they like this kind of Swiss watch or this kind of movement, they're very prone, if they find anything about knives, they will take to it like, you know, like a duck to water. They're like, oh, this is nerdy too. It's got all these different mechanisms, materials, and colors. Oh my god, I want 80 of them.
Yeah. I think I do want all your knives. And there's a couple others out there. I'm like, yeah, every knife on this table. And
it's fun and it's addictive. And, you know, I basically thumb my nose at the world all the time. And my designs are the same. I made knives that if you look out across the knife landscape, you will see guys that make knives that look like mine. And they started making knives since I've been around. It ain't an accident. And then you will see everybody else, and you could spot our stuff, tell me if I'm wrong, across the room, and it's different than everybody's. There's no question about it. You see my booth is different than everybody's.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm better or anything. I'm making shit for me that's cool to me. If you like my taste, cool. If you don't, go buy Schmuckatelli's knife. I don't care. And so we just want to make cool shit. I want to make cool shit. I said, I always, Jeff's kind of Lindsay's. Lindsay kind of reports to Jeff. Jeff's kind of my right hand man at the factory, and you know, he asked me what my goal was one time, and I said, well, I want to be, you know, as big as Benchmade, maybe bigger, but I want to make cool shit. Now, that's not knocking on Benchmade. They make great stuff for an amazing price that's hard to believe, especially once you've been in the knife business. The fact that they do it, it's hard to believe they do it. You know, how the hell do they do this? Now, I know enough now to go, oh, I know how they're doing it. That's pretty amazing, cool. But I want to make really cool shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're working on it. It's a work in progress.
But do you have any questions, Justin?
What do you carry right now then?
I don't have anything because TSA wouldn't let me bring anything, and I didn't want to scratch a new knife.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I normally carry though. I've got a Jefferson ASK knife in polish with a drop point blade, standard, right the way it comes in the box. It's my favorite knife. I carry it all the time. And I've got the custom scales printed up like a GT40 from the Le Mans series. So it's just, it's cool.
Why drop point over Tono? You have two blade styles that you seem to lean towards. Tono blade and the drop point. Why drop point for you?
I think because I'm tending towards being an old man. The younger guys seem to like Tontos more than older guys. If you are born after 1970, you really like Tontos. If you're born before 1970, you really like drop points.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Tonto thing really is because of Kung Fu Theater on Sunday mornings. We used to have, when there were only 4 channels, everyone's looking at me blankly. You guys are all so young.
4 channel?
Back in the day, there used to be 4 channels, and then there was public television. And on Sunday morning or a Saturday mornings, they would do cartoons before parents were up. And there was the cartoons and then Kung Fu Theater on Sundays.
Was that when you were the remote, and your dad would be like, go change the channel?
You're fucking funny. No remotes back then,
That's
Junior.
what I'm talking about. You walk up and you go and change
I
it.
was the remote.
You were the remote.
Yeah. Oh, then there was the clicking. It was like the cricket clicker, and the TV would just advance. Yeah, you try to explain to young people how the phones were attached to the walls by a spiraled cord, and they're like, what?
Not to brag, but I had 13 channels growing up.
You had 13? Yeah, but how old are you?
25.
I have boots older than you.
Hey, my friend's watching us, and he asked, what's your take on the best knife for when shit hits the fan? What do you want?
Fixed blade. I want a really cool fixed blade, a medium size or a large. I don't like little fixed blade. I like a big fucking knife. Everyone's like, oh, I want a little knife. That's really cool for when you're getting out of your car and you don't want to scratch the wheel on your Nissan Altima. But when the fucking end of the universe has come, you want a big knife.
Are you going to make that knife?
I make that
you
knife.
do?
I'm
Which
the
one?
king of that knife. Are you kidding me?
Which
Yeah,
one?
Absolutely. The TFF1. And then for folders and for fixed blades, we've got the AIO2 coming out, which is our Adapt, Improvise, and Overcome field knife. We've got the Bushcraft knife. We've got the Deep. Did we rename the Deep, or is it still the Deep?
No, it's still the deep.
I mean, I've got some bitchin' fixed blades. I mean,
So he's out in Tennessee. Where can he go to buy knives? Is somewhere online?
we've got great places in
yeah.
Tennessee.
Do you guys do the world's largest knife store out there in
Smoky Mountain Knife Works.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Tennessee, we have
We got-
Nashville Tactical, E-Knives.
Zach, go to Nashville Tactical E-Knives.
Or
those are
there's two
different
coming.
Oh, sorry,
there's-
Nashville
there's
Tactical.
Nashville Tactical, and then there's E-Knives.
And then E-Knives.
With Coco and her guy.
Yeah.
What's
All
his
around
name?
Nashville.
Clay.
I should know Clay. I'm sorry, Clay. I know
Clay's
you're gonna.
wonderful too.
Clay's awesome, but since you're not a really cute blonde, I never remember your name. I'm sorry. No, they're awesome, and Coco's fantastic. She's got a gigantic personality. It's bigger than most of our knives. Not all of them, though.
So you mentioned one knife you're coming out with this next year. Is there any other knives you have planned on releasing this year?
Somebody eating beef jerky? All right. Let's keep smelling beef jerky. Beef jerky around here.
Having a stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I smell candy. So we have a knife coming out. I have so many guys send me pictures of themselves with a Praetorian tie at a really nice steakhouse, cutting a steak with their $1,500 pocket knife. That I said, hey, let's just make. Actually, Jeff said it. Hey, let's make a. What do you think about making a folding steak knife? So I have made a folding steak knife called the T-Bone, which is coming out, and it is a really, really cool flipper that looks like a steak knife. If you're out at a steakhouse, it's
That's
super
awesome.
cool. And if you want to use it as a tactical knife, it would be great for going up into the pericardium, either behind the clavicle or in the armpit. Awesome at either one of those. And then we have a
Multi-purpose.
yes, steak or stab. And then we have another product.
That's a good
coming out.
slogan for your sale on that one. Steak or stab.
Yeah, that's right. And then we have another one coming out called the Antic, which in ancient Greek meant the thumb. It's a thumb forward flipper. Do you know what a forward flipper is?
Forward flipper? Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
don't know. Thumb. Like,
Well, you use your thumb to forward
Yeah.
flip. Okay. So we've made a really cool, very simple knife called the Antic, which is, I think, super. It's as cool as I've ever seen out of forward flipper. It's a neat knife.
nice.
All titanium, really like aggressive looking blade. It's a sexy knife. We've got what else news coming out? Oh, I've got the TFF4 that I redesigned. So I have a new take on one of my old designs, which people won't even recognize it unless they know, and then they'll be like, "Oh my god, this is so cool."
Okay.
And then we have our new OTF, which is very cool. Very
Nice.
cool. Very cool project.
Outside of knife stores, where could we find you at?
Well, you can find us online at medfordknife.com. You can also find our growing line of our little utility knife called the American Service Knife at askknife.com. Any iteration of that, ASK Knife, ASK Knives, whatever. And they can buy them there if they don't have a local retailer. And they can always go to our website and find their local retailer, because we've got to locate a dealer thing on our website, right, by
Yeah,
state.
we do. And then pro shops like EDC and other ones.
Yeah, so EDC Specialties here in Gold River outside of Sacramento are, these are few and far between around the country, but these are going to be the premier dealers that carry the most amount of our stuff throughout the year. But it's still very cyclical,
Yeah.
because we're not making a model all year long. We make it for a couple months, and then we go on to the next model, onto the next model. So you have this, with models, you have this kind of feast or famine cycle that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I learned from Rob real quick that you guys make a knife and then you go on to the next knife. And I went into his nice knife section where Medford's featured, and there was two. I was like, why is there only two? And Greg's like, because Rob buys them all. So if I want to see a Medford knife here, I just ask Rob, hey, can I look at your collection of what's coming back? And he'll pull his knives out. Because he's like, hey, when they're gone, they're gone. I want to make sure I have one.
Oh, he's talking about my personal collection.
His personal collection.
So that I can show people
Yep.
all the models.
What you mean is your floor model samples.
That's exactly right. And Greg, what I've done is I've created them all in the same configuration, so that, like showing a home, you allow that person to get what they want out of it, right? They just see the knife.
Nice.
And so all of my knives are all PVD with flamed hardware and flame clip. It adds a little color that shows the pizzazz, and I go right through the line. I got all the TFFs and all the Praetorians and all the versions, so that when a customer comes in and says, oh, I saw this knife online. Yes, I don't have it in store right now, but let me put one in your hand.
You have a disconcerting amount of styles, so I'm a little suspect.
I'm waiting for my box set to come in.
Okay, it's like Lindsey Graham. He's got a lot of style too.
That's in the word.
So,
Wow.
only a couple people hear that.
Wow.
So I know, isn't that awful?
Wow.
So, I was just gonna ask you something. Oh my god, it slipped my mind making my Lindsey Graham joke.
It's worth it.
Let me go back up front. Let me remind me, Lindsay, to show you the box because I have a knife that I need to take a picture with you with.
Oh, did you? Oh, you wanted something about a box thing? About you were asking about a box something.
Our box set?
Oh, they ordered one of the Praetorian box sets, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Praetorian type box set.
I thought you were talking about the TFF reissue series.
Well, I heard about that from you last night.
Okay.
That's something we're interested in, of course, because, you know, the vintage series coming back, always a little bit better.
I basically, I think we're gonna make 500 of each and put them into a set, and you buy all 4. I think it'll be really cool.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, you know, this is the fun thing about knife making. Like, people don't realize it is so much fun. Like, we just kind of geek out on like, all right, what do you think people like? And then I'm like, well, this is what I'm making. What do you mean? What do people like? I don't care. And then they're like, all right, Greg, we gotta figure out a way. Okay, we'll make more of those.
Like, they like the last thing I made. They should like the next thing I
I'm
made.
like, why are we still making the Praetorian? I want to make something else.
Well, hey, like I said, I think we've tied up a lot of your time. It's been awesome talking to you and get to know you. If you're ever back in the area doing stuff with Rob, we'd love to have you on our show on Whiskey Wednesday talking about your very beginning starts of how you thought about being a knife maker, hardships you went through to where you are now, and have it over whiskey.
I'll do that. I will tell you anything you want over brown water.
We'll supply it.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We really
Be safe
appreciate
out
it.
there. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Sorry, kids and women and whoever else might be watching this.